Hi guys, Claudia Boleyn here. So I'm re-recording this intro that I did before because Mum's just come back from having her hair done. So if you can hear the shower and stuff in the background, I'm right next to the bathroom. So if you can hear that, that's what that noise is. But it should be okay. I'll fix the sound. So what I'm really doing is I'm trying to keep track of exactly who's taking part in it and why and when, and keeping some sort of record, because I do think that when we look back in the future, we're all going to think, how on earth was that allowed to happen, really? So the most recent one that I've seen that I thought would be worthwhile to talk about is Russell Howard. So I don't really watch Russell Howard that much. I think he does Russell Howard's Good News, and it recently came up. It was suggested on my YouTube actually, that he had done some sort of video about Meghan and Harry. I'll tell you what that came up as, what it's titled as. It's clearly clickbait. Okay, so on Twitter, and my YouTube isn't loading at the moment. On Twitter, it's titled "The Harry and Meghan trailer was complete nonsense." I was kind of hoping it was going to be satire. I saw a lot of people saying how funny it was, and I thought, okay, good, he's going to be making a joke out of how pathetic the media's been here and how they're taking part in a hate campaign against a real life woman who we all know has suffered documented harassment, press intrusion, racism, sexism. I mean, I don't think anyone can deny that. If we look at what Piers Morgan's been up to, if we look at what Jeremy Clarkson's done recently, the things that we're used to seeing all the time in the UK. I've spoken about this in other videos, but if you go to the shops, you see a nasty headline about Meghan Markle or encouraging you to see her as the villain, like just at the shops. It's become so normal in the UK. So like I said, I'm just trying to remember for myself, really, who's getting involved in this. And I just want to remember that. I want to know who has decided to take part in a hate campaign against this woman for absolutely no reason, who we know, whether you like her or not, is documented as having these problems with the media and being treated in a certain way. Okay, and again, like, more and more of these people are outing themselves, essentially. So they're comedians or media figures, but they're behaving like internet trolls. They're behaving like bullies and harassers. So Russell Howard slams, in capitals, Harry and Meghan's Netflix documentary. And in the picture, the thumbnail, it says in quotation marks, "full of lies," and he's making a face as if to be like disgusted, and there's a picture of the couple waving. I really hope this was going to be satire, but it's not. I'm done being disappointed with comedians, because so many, I don't know if you're in Britain right now or if you're British, but in Britain, most of our comedians, it's hard to explain, a lot of them sell out. So we had a thing where, so for example, Jeremy Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party before, and I really support him. He's very left-wing. I believe he's a good man, but the media kind of turned on him, and basically the comedians kind of followed suit, the media figures followed suit, and then it started to come out that actually they're all kind of friends with each other, and they're all kind of protecting their own interests. They're all very kind of centrists, and they're not really into justice. And it is quite shocking if you actually look into comedians in this country and media figures, that they know each other, they go to the same parties, a lot of them went to the same schools. It's like a sort of club. Nobody wants to talk about that. And I also think, especially with so many comedians these days claiming you can't say anything and that you're cancelled, even though loads of them are actually deliberately wanting that reaction so they can have like a cancellation tour, which doesn't make sense, because if you're cancelled, why are you're getting extra following, and you're getting like more people engaging with your work and supporting you because you're now a victim of cancel culture. So they accuse the left of trying to be victims all the time, trying to play victim, but isn't that the ultimate claiming victim, right? To act like you're a victim of cancel culture, that you're a victim of people saying that because of your opinions and your nastiness, they don't want to engage in, watching your content anymore, which is fine. That's free speech. It's like, I believe J.K. Rowling recently, there's a lot of transphobia in the UK, seemed really angry that someone had suggested that because she's deemed to be transphobic. I personally believe she's transphobic. She's transphobic, but that's, if you think differently, okay. She took great offence to somebody saying that they don't want to support her views, so they're no longer going to buy Harry Potter merchandise, which you would think would just be a freedom of speech thing. And that's the power of boycotting stuff. If you don't support the person, you might not buy their stuff. That's not being silenced, that's someone making a decision. It's like how people can make a decision when I make YouTube videos whether they want to watch my videos again. They could easily decide they don't like me and just never watch my stuff again, which is fine. That doesn't make me a victim of them. That's just them deciding they don't like my stuff, they don't want to support my stuff, so they go off and do something else. But yeah, I was really shocked by this, because these are people who consider themselves to be kind of like reasonable and not very right-wing, and yet they're jumping on this hate wagon of this woman who actually doesn't merit any of this hatred. And I don't want it to be forgotten that they did this, because it is really evil, and there's no way that, especially in the positions that they're in, that they can have no grasp of what's going on. If you're in Britain right now, I'm telling you, if you're from someone else, you know what's going on. Like, it's up to you how you perceive it, like whether you believe she's this big villain or not, but you know this is happening. We see it in our papers. They're always in the papers. They're always on every magazine. Okay, it's like there's hate topics in this country that at the moment seem to be Harry and Meghan, but especially Meghan, asylum seekers who come over on dinghies because they're fleeing war and persecution, and, you know, some of them are, you know, tragically dying, and they're the villains. Trans people are the villains. Strikers too. That's been twisted so that rather than people getting angry at the government not agreeing to fair pay for those people, they're the villains. I'm just trying to think. There's like a list of people that they attack, and Meghan is really high up that list. I especially liken it to Meghan Markle, Jeremy Corbyn, and most recently Mick Lynch, who is like the spokesperson for the RMT union, who is, you know, organising like the train strikes. These are articulate individuals who have strong political views and principles. They can't really be called out for their opinions because they can stand up for themselves and because it makes a lot of sense. So the next step is to just completely tarnish them and rubbish them and make them out to be villains, which is what happened with Jeremy Corbyn politically. We're seeing it happening with Mick Lynch right now. It doesn't work when he's in person, though. If you see his interviews, he's really brilliant because you can tell, you know, actually what he's saying makes sense. He's incredibly reasonable. You can't actually, you know, he's not this caricature they're making him out to be. But Meghan's another target. And remember, Meghan's not even a political figure. You know, I think we should remember that. She's especially vulnerable here. So let's look at what Russell Howard said. I'm not going to use it in the video because I'll probably get a copyright strike. I don't want to do that. So his issue, right, this huge issue about why he thinks they're liars, is because he seems to have discovered the stock image, right? He seems to have discovered the concept of a stock image, which is hilarious because I'm pretty sure that in the video he's got a stock image behind him on a green screen of Buckingham Palace. Unless he personally took that, that's got to be a stock image or someone else's image. His argument is that because in the documentary there's stock image of photographers and paparazzi, which wouldn't have been the domain of Harry and Meghan anyway, and also that's something really common that they would do in, like, you know, when you're making a documentary. If you watch documentaries, they often use stock footage. You know, you apply and you just use them. So if they're talking about press intrusion and the media, it's not weird to, you know, use some footage of paparazzi. You know, that's just, he would know that as well because he's part of that industry. I'm pretty sure he uses stock images himself, but he's now, again, it's because you can't really argue with what they're saying, really. That's why it's so awful. I can understand people, you know, listening to what was being said, having a different opinion and arguing that in a reasonable manner, right? But you know there's something wrong because they can't. They go for these really weird things. So they were fixated on the curtsy, which I'll get to in a minute on this. And it was like people have tried so hard to make Meghan into a pantomime villain, to make her this like vicious, nasty person that is trying to like attack the royal family and bring them down. And that, you know, they've tried to claim that Harry and Meghan are so disrespectful to the Queen, and yet every time they actually speak, they're not disrespectful to the Queen. There's nothing that they've said against that. You know, they haven't spoken against her. You know, they don't at all. So they jumped on the curtsy thing, where Meghan was mocking her own curtsy, because it is funny, just as a normal human being, right? It is funny that you have to curtsy to someone's grandmother the first time you meet them. And she does like an exaggerated curtsy about what she did. And again, like, it's not affording her humanity, because if you're telling it as an anecdote, you're going to kind of dramatise it a bit, you know, bring a bit of like, you're going to kind of make a little joke out of it, aren't you? But that got turned into really quickly, she's somehow mocking the Queen, which isn't what it was. She was mocking her own curtsy. And also, I mean, she wasn't doing this, but also the idea that you have to curtsy to someone's grandma is odd, right? It is odd, right? But it wasn't insulting the Queen. So what he's decided to pick on here is the idea of stock photos, because they use these paparazzi things. And here's the thing, he is taking part in the mocking and gaslighting of Meghan Markle. He's taking part in the bullying campaign against her. All these little things to try and make her into a villain, and for what? You know, and this is a guy that I believe has spoken about mental health issues before. And he's basically dismissing all the concerns of that documentary. And I don't mind if you're not someone who agrees with them or doesn't like Harry and Meghan or whatever, but I think something that we can all agree on is that the racism she's faced, the sexism she's faced, and a lot of the media coverage of her has been disproportionate, unfair, and unacceptable. I feel like whether or not you like her, that's something that I think most people would reasonably agree on. So this is basically gaslighting. It's basically framing her. It's helping to frame her as somebody who's making a big deal out of nothing, somebody that just wants attention. It's all those things that people use against abuse victims because Meghan is being abused by the system. I've spoken before about Darvo. Actually, I've got a video about Darvo coming, which isn't up yet because I've got to edit it a bit more. But it's an abuse technique which is called deny, attack, reverse victim and offender, basically. So it's when somebody's targeted or bullied and it's denied that they're being bullied, then the victim is attacked quite viciously. And then the next thing they do is they reverse the victim and offender. So we see that with Meghan because we're seeing that basically she's being made out to be this monster and all these people saying these terrible things about her are only doing it in response to her. You know, that's the way they're framing it, even though it isn't true. He, at some point, you know, he mocks, Russell Howard mocks her curtsy. He pretends to be the queen and, like, talks about her being simple. And I just don't understand, you know, it's really vicious and nasty. Some people have it in them that they like to bully someone. He's talking about the use of past photos, and he brings up, oh, you've got to be really careful with past photos of Harry. And again, it's this quick dismissal when actually something that Harry can't win no matter what he does, and that's why you know they're being abused and bullied, because they can't win no matter. It's not a system where they can defend themselves and make their points and be taken seriously. They're just dismissed and ridiculed, basically, and humiliated. Harry has spoken about unconscious bias. He's spoken about his upbringing and how he has learned as he's got older, and he's trying to be an anti-racist. And it doesn't matter, like, you might think he's being successful in that, you might think he's not. You might think he's sincere in that, and you might think he's not. But that point in itself is just to humiliate and doesn't actually address anything, right? And you've got this whole load of people there just laughing along in the video, like, with no critical thinking skills whatsoever. It's just this mass bullying behaviour that people are somehow doing because Meghan's been dubbed our great pantomime villain for some reason, which is disgusting. There's also, he's talking about, oh, Kate's carol service, and then he has carol singers singing the words that both are clearly bull, swear word. You know what I mean. But the thing is, it's just disgusting because I think any rational, kind human being, whether you like them or not, could not deny that she's faced racism, sexism, threats. She's miscarried. She has been suicidal. And I've seen so many people saying, oh, no, she wasn't suicidal. How do you know that? How on earth do you know that? And actually, with everything that we do know with the media turning on her and this coverage, it makes total sense anyway. Not that you need a reason like that. But that's very harmful, and it's harmful to people who you know in real life who have mental health difficulties and who get suicidal to hear that dismissed. I've seen people saying, oh, she didn't really have a miscarriage. But why do people believe that? Because they feel guilty that they've villainized her to such a degree. They're not big enough people to actually step back and say, actually, maybe we got this wrong and we were a bit manipulated by the media. So they have to make her into this caricature villain, and it just goes on and on and on and on. You know, turning someone's own miscarriage on them is so evil. You know, suddenly it's not real, it's fake, it's for sympathy. She can't win whatever she does because, you know, if she's silent, they carry on and they treat her in this way. That didn't do anything. They speak, they're attention seekers for speaking and responding, and everything they do, they're gaslighting because everyone denies what we all know is going on. I think that's the thing that's the most upsetting, is that it's this media level gaslighting of what we all know is happening to Meghan Markle. And it doesn't matter if you like her or not, but we can all see it's happening. And all these media figures are really showing themselves up because they know and they're taking part, because they don't really care. Like, they're not... There's few comedians and media figures, because of the way that celebrity works in this country, in Britain, who actually say what they think or bring something new or of value to the table. It's very much a club of friends. It's very much you go along with the status quo, you get rewarded, you go on more shows. That's why you've got things like Have I Got News For You? You've got comedians who become like political commentators, but all they do is reflect the majority view all the time because they know it will get them laughs and they'll get more viewers and more fans. There are very few who seem to have the guts to actually speak out when something's wrong. And two I can bring to mind who do, and who get a lot of stick for it, are James Acaster and Joe Lycett. And they are brave because this country turns on whistleblowers, right? They don't like people that call things out. We like to, in the future, when we realise that stuff's wrong, go back and act like nobody knew that was wrong at the time. Weren't we all duped, right? But actually, at the time, there's always people who bring things up and they're shouted down and they're ridiculed, right? And they're made out to be dramatic and attention seeking, and then they kind of get erased. And we forget that, you know, they've taken risks in their careers and they've lost opportunities because they spoke, right? And all these people who went along with it, even though they knew it was wrong, end up with a great career. And it's just forgotten that they went along with it knowingly, really, this mass bullying of this woman. They don't want to rock the boat because all they're thinking about is their careers, right? But there's something really, really evil in that, because as a comedian, like, obviously you have the right to joke about whatever you want, but you can really tell who's, like, doing it. You know, it's, of course it's beneficial for your career. You can join in on this bullying, you can make nasty people laugh, you can add to this whole pantomime and charade if you want, and it will, sure, you'll get some specials and you'll get to have more fans and more people will laugh. But what's the consequence of that? Like, there's no human. Some of these people, I don't think they have souls. Like, I don't think they feel empathy for other people. You know, is she deserving of all this mockery and this humiliation? And I don't know how she deals with it, because in her position, I mean, I think I don't know, I don't think I could have coped, honestly. It's just really, really, really sick. So I'm trying to keep a record of all these people that do this, and it's not just the right, unfortunately. This is how racist and nasty our country's become. It's a very tabloid. Britain's become kind of taken over by tabloidness. The truth doesn't really matter. And whistleblowers and people speaking the truth are discouraged from speaking out, because it does negatively impact their careers. They will be humiliated. They will be abused as well. They will be linked. So it becomes rare for people who actually speak the truth or care about justice or care about people to make their way up in that industry. So it's really sick. So I just wanted to talk just quickly about the Russell Howard thing here. I think it's disgusting. I don't know how people like that live with themselves, because it's not a spur of the moment thing. Like, they write it, they prepare the fake singers, and, you know, does he feel proud to take part in that mass bullying of her, the mass gaslighting? I wonder, when he read Jeremy Clarkson's comments, or when he sees Piers Morgan going off again, I wonder if he feels proud that he's enabled more of that abuse. And I tell you what, if something happened to Meghan, these people would be on the Be Kind brigade, you know, don't say anything bad, you know, be kind, protect people's mental health. But they're so fake, you know, all these people from the Be Kind, you know, this fake positivity thing, they don't care when someone's being gaslit. They don't care when someone's being abused on a media stage. And there's a lot of cowards out there, unfortunately. And it often happens that the good people don't get opportunities. The good people don't make it to the top. And that's why it all seems so corrupt. And that's why you keep having these things breaking where, oh, this such and such terrible thing happened, but no, they all knew about it, but nobody spoke. It's because they're all in it for their careers, and they're like a club. This stretches across different industries, but yeah. So, love you loads. Happy holidays, or whatever you celebrate. And I'm just going to try and keep a handle on this. I don't usually talk about Meghan so much on this channel, but I really feel like it's all sort of coming to a head, and it makes me so angry. Like, it really sets something off in me. Like, my injustice sensor just really, really sets off with this. And it just makes me so angry. So I just wanted to talk about it on this platform. And just address how awful it is, really. Because we're not in the medieval era now. Like, we're not in the Tudor era. We're in 2022 and we're still doing it. Anyway, love you loads. See you really soon. And don't believe everything the tabloids tell you, or what comedians... Like, just look things up for yourself, right? Look at the source of what you're hearing. Like, make your own decisions. I'm not saying you necessarily have to agree with me because I'm saying it, but just make your own decisions and do your own research. Okay. Love you loads, and I'll see you really soon. Bye!